He called me and he was like, "Hey, you need to sell all your stock and buy Bitcoin." At the time, the price of Bitcoin was crashing, right? It was crashing from like 400 to 200. That's how long ago it was. Inevitably, people talk about investing, right, in stocks and S&P 500 and bonds and all kind of other stuff. And one of the things that always leads me to orange peeling someone is because when they'll inevitably say like, "Hey, what stocks do you own? What are you buying?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't have any stocks, man. I don't even have a brokerage account." And they look at me like I got a horn growing out of my forehead. But that always starts the conversation. I think that the S&P 500 is not just like, "Hey, you qualify, now you're in." It's a group of people who are trying to vote on it, and they don't like the way he's doing it. They look at it as, in my opinion, they would probably look at it as financial engineering of some sort, and they don't see it as a genuine company that is selling a product that is making cash flows and getting in that way, right? The traditional way.
Hey, good to see you too. I'm good. Yeah, I mean, it's noon here,
Oh
but
yeah.
I already, went to the gym, did my morning stuff, and now I'm just
Oh yeah.
chilling.
Man, I went to the gym yesterday and for the first time in a month or so, and I probably overdid it. I woke up this morning, arms are sore, everything is sore. You know how it is first time back.
Oh yeah, it's a good feeling though. Like once you get back into it, it's like
Oh
you're
yeah.
sore not from like sleeping weird, but you're sore from like, oh, I actually did something.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's not going to be bad today. It'll be worse tomorrow. It's like the 2 days later is when you really feel it. At
Yeah.
least that's how it is for me. So I'll have
Yeah,
to go back.
how's life in Hawaii?
Man, I just moved out here and I tell you, it is kind of what you would expect, right? It's just super laid back and there's really not a lot to do except for go to the beach, which is just the worst thing ever. It's super chill. I mean, it's not like the East Coast at all. Like you go down the highway, and if I put on my blinker, people will damn near crash to stop their car and let me in. Like, you just don't see that anywhere else. It's the easiest place to get around because everybody lets you in. Everybody does all that. It's not like the East Coast where like you put on your blinker, you might get run over if somebody's trying to get in your way. So
Yeah. No, I
it's
mean,
just a
first of
totally
all,
different vibe.
if people even use their blinker, I mean, here
Yeah,
in Florida, it's like, dude, like no one uses their blinker here. They just
right.
get over.
Well, you
It's like,
can't
oh,
because as soon as you put on your blinker, everybody behind you hits the gas. They don't want to let you in.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I usually don't use my blinker either. But then I just kind of realized like, hey, if I put my blinker on, everybody hits their brakes, and so like, I just put it on. It makes it easy. Um,
Nice. That's
it's just
awesome.
the island life, right? Like, it's super laid back. Nobody's in a hurry, and nothing's gonna get done on time, and or just
How like the inflation and stuff and prices over there? Because I visited in like 2022, I want or 2023 or something in there. Dude, I mean, of course, we were on like a resort. Everything on the resort was like a hamburger was like $45 or something. But
yep.
I
Yeah,
don't
so I
know.
mean that's resort prices. I think yes, things are more expensive, right? Like my rent here, because I rent the same size place that I had in North Carolina, and it's almost 3 times the price. Like you know that's that's it's a tough pill to swallow when you first get here. But at the same time, like I live 100 yards from the water, right? Like it's not, I can see the water from my balcony. You know what I mean? And so I just can't complain. Like there's goods and bads. If I want to go down to the beach, it's 5 minutes and I can be sitting on the beach. And so like there's goods and bads to it. Where you got to be careful really is like at the grocery store because there are things in there that you can get that I feel like they're not much different than the East Coast. But there's some things you get in there, and man, the price of your grocery bill just went sky high. So like beef prices are through the roof. But if I want to eat some fish or some chicken, then that's about normal. So,
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, when we moved to Texas, we bought a house for like way under what we paid for in Colorado, and it was like 3,300 square feet.
Yeah,
So it was massive, and it's just me and my wife, and we're like, we have all this space, and then we moved to Florida, and we had to go through the realization that we were going to be downsizing because we
yeah,
cannot afford 3,300 square feet anywhere near where we want to live.
yep. I
So,
know that's we were lucky in that. So when we got here, everybody told us that that's exactly what most people have to go through. But we were lucky that we were living in a small place in North Carolina to start with, and so when we got here, we're like, okay, well now it's just the same size place. We just got to pay a lot more for it. So we really couldn't downsize anymore. You know, we have two kids here with us. I have like five kids, man. Like three of them are in college in North Carolina, and two of them are here. So I couldn't downsize too far because I have kids with me. But
I didn't know that. I didn't know you had five kids, man. That's
yeah,
crazy.
man, I'm almost 50 years old now. So like my kids are grown, except for one. I did start over again, and so I have a 3-year-old. So
Well,
um,
I mean, I'm 34 and I have zero kids. So you
yeah,
got started before me.
I got started early. I got started early, but it's good, right? Because now I'm almost 50. My youngest daughter is going to graduate high school next year, and hey, man, that'll be it. Except for I'll have the little one that I'll start over with, and I'll be like a t-ball coach or something. You know what I mean? He's the only
This-
boy. The boy is the youngest one. All the rest of them are girls.
Oh, geez. Well, he'll have protective sisters, I guess.
Oh
They'll
yeah,
be monitoring him.
yeah. We laugh because for a long time we didn't know if he would learn how to walk because his feet never hit the ground. They just carried him everywhere.
That's awesome.
Now he's finally he's running around and he's full on Hawaiian, man. Like he's taken to this very well. We never cut his hair, so his hair's super long and he's got like his shell necklaces on and he runs around with no shirt on because he's like half redneck. He, he jumps on the boogie board and floats around like he's full on Hawaiian.
That's awesome. He just adapted like right away. He's
Oh yeah.
chilling,
Yeah, he's
loving
like,
it.
I love this, right? I can go down to the beach, I can play in the dirt, It's just, and like every boy's dream, right? I can play in the dirt and jump in the water, like that's what everybody wants to do.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's the life. I love it. I'd never want to leave Florida because the beach
Yeah,
is not 5 minutes, but it's 10 to 15 minutes depending on if you hit the drawbridge or not. And it's
yeah,
like, it's just right down the street. When we want to go, we just pack up the car and head out.
yeah. Florida's
But
nice. I guess I've been all over Florida except for the western side, as far down as I've been is like Tampa area. But on the other side, of course, I went all the way down to the Keys and Miami and Fort Lauderdale and stuff like that. But I've been up to Destin and Panama City area. And I've never been too far down I guess the Gulf side. Because
yeah, me
Tampa's not
either.
too far down.
Yeah, I've only been to the Gulf side, Gulf of America. I've only been
Yeah,
to that side like once, I think. So we don't really go that way. I'm
yeah,
still learning like, where we like, where we want to go, stuff like that. But
yeah. What do you think
yeah.
about your governor, man? Is he gonna run for president again? Let's see.
DeSantis?
Yeah,
Dude, I like DeSantis. I think he could be a pretty good president. I think he rushed it going against
yeah,
Trump. I think that was kind of a dumb idea, which
yeah,
is fine. Um, I like what he's done with Florida. I like how he's controlled like the wokeness per
yeah,
se. I like how he controlled the COVID scenario. Right now, the biggest thing he's trying to do that I'm looking at is he's trying to get rid of property taxes. And I know he's been saying that for a while, but if he could get rid of property taxes, I mean, the price of the houses is going to skyrocket, obviously, because people are going to buy houses here. It's just what it is. Um, but if I didn't have to pay however much we pay per month in property taxes,
yeah.
I that would be so phenomenal.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a killer, especially when you retire and you have a paid off mortgage, but you're really not paid off, right? Because huge tax payments and huge insurance payments, and like, you never can really just settle and sit back and do nothing.
It's insane. If you're on a fixed income, you're in a lot of places you get priced out of the own like your own neighborhood that you
Yeah.
bought into 30 years ago. Especially with HOAs, HOA fees have gone insane in
Yeah.
Florida, and for some reason they have more control than the president. Like they can put you in jail, the
Oh my
HOAs,
God.
and there was someone on the news last week that they got put in jail for 7 days because they had brown grass in the
Oh wow.
HOA. Yeah, and so they're fighting to get rid of HOAs in Florida too, which I think, I mean, us being Bitcoiners, we hate the government and any authority as
Yeah.
it is.
Right.
So I'm
Exactly.
all for it. I mean, I want to live in an area without an HOA.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, to do that, most of those communities are inland. So we'd be
Yeah.
further away from the ocean. But I think the benefit is well worth it because I don't want to live with an HOA, man. They're a pain
Yeah.
in the
No.
ass.
In North Carolina, we had an HOA, and my God, uh, we fought with them all the time. I actually had to send them a letter to basically threaten them to, sue them or whatever because they kept putting like violations on our door, like, hey, you violated this and violated that, and it was always stuff that our neighbor had done, but they were putting it on our door. And so like I told them like, hey, right now you're just fucking harassing us for no reason at all. You know what I mean? Like, you
Well,
know.
so we moved in and we had an inspection done. We own a townhome, so we had an inspection done.
Keep talking. I'm gonna get a cup
Okay.
of coffee.
Oh yeah. So the inspection came back that everything was great. The outside of our townhome, the inside, like things were looking good. And about 6 months into living here, our HOA sent us a letter saying that we had to fix about $1,000 worth of siding on our house. And uh, we were sitting there, and we're like, this is insane. We literally just bought this place. How is there already something wrong with the outside of it? And I don't know. So we spent about $600 having to fix our siding because we found a guy that would do it for cheaper. And it is what it is, but it's bullshit.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. I looked over, my coffee cup was empty. I said, this ain't gonna go very well.
No, you're all good.
I'm ready to get started whenever you are, man, because here in about another hour, the family will be up and running around in here, so it won't be as
Yeah,
quiet
no,
as it is now.
I already hit record, but
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
I, I was gonna edit out whatever didn't really pertain, but I usually just
Yeah.
try and hit record and then just start talking,
Yeah, that's
and then
perfect, man. That's good.
whatever flows flows. But
Yeah.
no, I usually just like to hear people's backstories into Bitcoin because I think that helps a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize you were a father, so I wanted to talk about that too. But I'll start with the backstory, man.
Yeah. So, how I got into Bitcoin, I was always into economics, right? I have a master's degree in economics, and I was the guy who wanted like a boring job, like being a business analyst, right? You always see like when you're a stock investor, like, here's what this analyst said. Like I wanted to be the guy writing those reports. So I was deep down into all that side of the world, I guess. And then at some point in time, somebody brought Bitcoin to my attention. It was a cousin of mine. He called me and he was like, "Hey, you need to sell all your stock and buy Bitcoin." At the time, the price of Bitcoin it was crashing, right? It was crashing from like 400 to 200. That's how long ago it was. You know? And I'm looking at this thing like, why, why in the hell would I sell stock in Apple and buy this thing, right? Like, why would I do that? And uh, I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. I did not read the white paper. I didn't understand anything about what Bitcoin was about. All I really wanted to do, and quite frankly, all that he wanted to do was say like, hey, you can make money in this thing. Like this thing is moving around, it's volatile, it's going all over the place. If you play this right, you can make some money. And so getting into Bitcoin was just, how can I make money? Like any other investment. It wasn't, It had nothing to do with uh, scarcity or the dollar is crashing or for me, right? It was none of that because I didn't research it enough. For anyone that I knew that was into Bitcoin, all it was about was number go up and can we go from 200 to 400 again? Can we go from 400 to 800 or to 1,000 or you know, is this thing going to hit 2,000? Like, you know what I mean? That was
Yeah.
that was all we cared about, you know. It
Yeah.
took and because of that, I was not Bitcoin only, right? When Ethereum came out, I bought Ethereum. You know, I was unfortunate but fortunate at the same time because I bought Ethereum under $100. Like I was very early, in that. Um, I don't have it anymore, right? I sold it and put it all in Bitcoin once I realized kind of like what Bitcoin
Same.
was actually all about, you know. But it took me, it was a long road for me to really get into Bitcoin because I was so much on the traditional finance side. And it took me a long time to kind of sit down and actually like read the white paper and just decide like what is this thing all about? And once I did that and once I started listening to, Lynn Alden and other folks, talking about Bitcoin. And I had to do like a lot of, I guess, self-study, right? I was not on Twitter. I didn't have any social media. I was just, I didn't get on Twitter until last year, I think. And so I just was learning on my own, just researching like I'd always done. And, uh, there's a lot of stuff out there about Bitcoin. And the more I researched, the more I went down that rabbit hole, it led me to this decision of like, actually, I should go all in on this thing. And so I did. I sold every stock. I sold a house. I sold everything and went all in, man. And I think I almost got a divorce, you know. You know,
Yeah.
but it took a while. Now, but fast forward a few years, right? Like it's all gravy now, and so it worked out well. Um, but I think we'll probably get into a discussion on treasury companies and it's funny, like I can't even buy it. I don't even have a brokerage account anymore. Like when I say I sold everything, like I sold everything. I closed it all down. I went all in on Bitcoin.
Yeah, but hindsight now you look like a genius.
Right. It was just like, it was one of those things where there was it was one of those bear markets we were going through and then like I'm just looking at it like, hey, do I believe in this thing or not? And if I do, then now's the time, right? Because uh, I had the kind of stock investor was I was always a long-term investor. I wasn't a day trader, right? I was always like, I'm going to buy this stock and I'm going to buy it because I believe that what they are doing in fast forward 5 years is going to make them a lot of money. And that's how you invest in companies based on the potential. And so I had always been that way, and I had always looked for crashes in the market, like the housing crash. I made a lot of money in the housing crash because I had cash sitting on the sidelines that I had sold the year before. I had sold all my stock the year before, um, not knowing it was a high, right? Just because I felt like it was kind of topping out. I didn't think it was a housing crash coming. I wasn't super profit or anything, but I just kind of had this feeling, gut feeling that things were kind of on the high end. And so I started selling things. So when the housing crash happened a year later, I had a pile of cash in my brokerage account and I bought everything, right? I bought Citibank at 97 cents and I bought Bank of America at 250 and I just went down the list and I started buying Apple and like all these companies that were back at the time too big to fail and they were great companies and they weren't going anywhere. And I'm going to buy all this stuff, and in 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, they should be back on their feet. It didn't quite take that long, but um, that was the kind of investor I was, like always looking for crashes. I made money after September 11th for the same reason. That's how old I am, showing my age now. But you know, you know, you, when you have those kind of drawdowns, that's really when you can make the most amount of money. And so when Bitcoin was crashing, um, to me, I'm looking at it like, okay, if this thing is real and if it is what it says it is and what people are saying it is, then now's the time. And so I just jumped in with both feet and hey man, like it worked out, you know?
No, I mean that's It's kind of cool because Bitcoin's like the first thing where I learned through my own investing, where when it goes down, you're excited because you
Yeah.
can just buy more. Like, that's not normal for people. Most people get terrified when their assets go down, and that's the way you're kind of taught is not to buy. You sell if it's going to crash. You got to get out before it keeps going down. And
Yeah.
people don't think about like value investing, and if you actually have conviction and believe in it, then it's going to go back up. I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean, I never really got into buying stocks that much. I found Bitcoin through learning about stock trading, and I kind of skipped over the stocks and went straight down the crypto route, the Ethereum type route.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I mean, I think we all made that mistake, right? We all just jumped in and went we all just jumped in and went shitcoining like that, like
yeah, it's a rite of passage, I think.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. You know, I can't say that everything I did in the shitcoin world was good, right? Uh, but I did make quite a bit of money, and so I can't fault it terribly, right? Like I said, I was in early in Ethereum. I bought Solana when it launched. Like I was there early along the over the years, right? But um, that kind of thing is what it is.
Yeah, so was I. I wasn't as early as you, but the same thing. I bought Ethereum when it was about 200, so I was after you by a little bit. I bought Solana too when it was cheap, but the beautiful thing is I found Bitcoin along the way, and I sold all that crap,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
gave me a lot of money to put into Bitcoin.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. I think uh, most of the people out there that I know that still do the other shit coins, right? All they do is rotate their profits into Bitcoin, and they just grow their Bitcoin pile. And so, like, it's just sucking liquidity out of those chains, and it's a lot of people do that. I don't do that anymore, right? Like, I wasn't even trying to do that back then. I didn't know any better, and so it just once I started realizing it, and now Bitcoin's the only thing that I do. And I told people before, like I have a cold wallet that doesn't have any outgoing transactions. I don't even know if the send button works on it. It's been, it's been in only for a long time.
Yeah, hopefully it works because one day
Yeah,
you're probably gonna want to sell something.
yeah. Hopefully it works. Yeah. I'm going to retire here in a couple of years, man, and build a house. And I haven't decided if I'm going to use a Bitcoin back loan or if I'm just going to sell some Bitcoin and build a house. Right? It is what it is.
I mean, once you hit a certain point of wealth, even if it's in Bitcoin, who cares if you sell some? I just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
the people that like are like, oh, I got to one Bitcoin. When it gets to 500,000, I'm gonna sell my full Bitcoin and buy a house.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that reasoning, but
Yeah.
if you've stacked for a long time and Bitcoin has gone up 1,000x, okay, sell some to get buy your house or build a house. But for most people, they don't have that. They're still starting out.
Well, yeah, and it's about, I mean, for me, it's just about freedom, right? I want to retire. I want to do some traveling. I don't want a mortgage payment holding me back. And so, like, I got to have a place to live. And so I'm going to build a house, right? I just don't want a $4,000 mortgage payment, you know? So,
I hear you.
you know,
So when did you start doing your Bitcoin fixes this spaces? That's been kind of interesting, and I've been thinking about it because everyone says Bitcoin fixes this, and then when you started that, I haven't even tuned in yet because you usually do it at a time when I can't, but I
yep.
want to, and so I figured since you're on, I got to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I started doing it, I guess 3 weeks ago now. Maybe it's been a month. I think we've only done three, maybe four. It's not MySpace, it's the Bitcoin Army community space. Michelle there asked me if I would do a Sunday space. I think because nobody else wanted to do a Sunday space, so they put me at they put me at the end of the week, and uh, and it's good, right? It's Sunday. I'm sure I'm going to lose quite a bit of an audience during football season, or we're going to get on there and talk football. I don't know, but it's been good, man. I reached out to a lot of folks because nobody wants to hear me talk, right? And so I reached out to some of the professionals in the industry. We've had Boomer BTC come in, who runs Barefoot Mining. We had Corey come in yesterday from Swan. We've had Sal from a former diplomat from El Salvador. He came in and spoke. I mean, there's a long list of speakers that we've had in there, man, and it's been good, right? Just to see like, hey, we all say Bitcoin fixes this. What are you doing to kind of expand adoption and expand the industry? How can we support you in this, bringing in folks and letting them kind of tell their story about what they've got going on? I think it's great. So far it's been really well received.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I think Bitcoin fixes more than what most people think, especially us that have been in it for at least a couple years, at least a cycle or two. You really start to learn about what it does fix. And I think there's a lot more that it fixes than people realize.
Yeah, because I think most people have, I shouldn't say most, I don't know the exact statistic, but a lot of people have a lot of stress and it all resides around money. And when you don't have that stress, you realize that things just kind of are different, you know? Your relationships are different, family life is different. Everything is a little bit different if you don't have the stress of like, look, I've got to go to work and make $15 an hour just so I can buy lunch tomorrow. You know what I mean? And so uh, that kind of stress on people, it causes divorces. It causes all kind of problems at home. And
I think
a lot
that's
of
the
people.
number one reason for divorce is financial reasons, and then next is like cheating. But I feel like finances develops into the cheating. So,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, financially, if you're struggling, yeah, it can takes a toll on families, relationships, your overall mental health. It takes a toll on
Yeah.
a lot of that.
No, you're exactly right. And stress causes all kind of problems. It can also cause somebody to be overweight, just based on stress. It has nothing, it doesn't always have to do with just eating a lot. It's just, your body starts swelling up. It's just not used to all those kind of enzymes in your bodies. It's a problem. I think Bitcoin can fix that part of it anyway. I think, and then that just ripples down, has a, down trace effect. So,
Yeah. So you are a father. How has Bitcoin transformed your relationship with your family? Because you went all in, and so they had to trust you. Thank God you were right, because
yeah.
if you weren't, we might not be talking. But you were right
Yeah.
because you did the research and you got the conviction. How has it transformed your family life?
So, my kids know that I like Bitcoin. Uh, they, I say my kids, right? They're not young. My kids are grown, but they know that I like Bitcoin. They don't know that I went all in, right? I just don't, we haven't talked about that. But I know years ago, my oldest daughter, who's now a college graduate, she was still in high school, maybe middle school. And I told her, hey, I'm going to give you $100 in Bitcoin. And she was like, Dad, I don't want that. And I don't want Bitcoin. Just give me $100. And here she is, millennial. I thought, oh, she'll love this thing. Oh no, she didn't want nothing to do with it. And it wasn't but maybe a couple of years later when she came back, she was like, hey, can I have that $100 in Bitcoin? So she finally got it. Now I don't want to put her on the spot, but she does own quite a bit of Bitcoin, more than most people, because during the COVID crash, one thing that she learned from me is to buy dips, right? And so the COVID crash happened. She had some money in savings, and she also just jumped in. She didn't go all in, but she did put about half of it in Bitcoin, and she's sitting pretty well right now. Um, she's kind of taking that after me of like just buy it and hold on to it and don't do anything with it. And um, so now, and it's easy to do that when your parents pay the bills, right? So she hasn't sold anything.
No,
She,
that's awesome. She's ahead of most people. I mean, especially coming out of college and you just have a stack of Bitcoin and you're
yep, that's exactly what happened, right? She came out of college. She doesn't have any loans. She's got a stack of Bitcoin. Like she's doing just fine, and she has the freedom to kind of do whatever she wants now. And uh, I'm proud of her. I can't. She does not fit the mold of like I want to go sit in a cubicle from 9 to 5. Like she just can't do it. And so now she has the freedom to kind of, hey, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, right? Go do something else.
No, that's awesome. I mean, has it helped you in any other way than just like a financial standpoint?
I mean, yeah, I think you know, I think yes, your world doesn't revolve around finances, right? But it does make it just makes things easier, right? If you know, makes things easier when you can do things. Like if I want to go out and eat, I can go out and eat. If I want to go, do whatever, I can do whatever, and that just makes life easier, right? You can enjoy those moments with your family of wherever it is. The money just creates the experiences that you can that you can enjoy with the family, and so that itself gives you a better family experience, and so um, obviously, like, I'm not a gazillionaire, right? I can't buy anything that I would could buy, right? But I don't think twice about I don't think twice about buying something if I want it, and so, like, most people just aren't to that point in their life yet, or if they are, they're going deep down the debt rabbit hole. And so I'm very fortunate, right? Of like, I can't say that I'm not blessed. I am blessed. If I want to go to the store and I want something, I just buy it and I don't think about it. But I'm
No,
also very frugal. I'm also a very frugal person, so it's not like I'm going out and buying $1,000 worth of stuff every day.
I know, so am I. I'm a very frugal person. So I've always my wife and I we grew up pretty poor. And so when we finally have money and I've orange pilled her enough to where, people will come up to her and they're like, "Your husband's into that Bitcoin thing, right?" And she'll be like, "Yeah." And she's proud of it. And so I think it's helped our relationship out too. Um, just with
Yep.
we know what it is. We know it's not going away, and there is a sense of security or calmness almost to knowing that you hold it and there won't be more of it. There's just something about it that feels good about
Yeah.
owning, this asset. And that 99% of people around the world don't even realize what it is still, which is crazy to me, but
No,
I
you're
don't know.
exactly right. No, I mean, you're exactly right. I think, my kids are millennials. I think two of them are Gen Z type, right? But they're very frugal kids. They know how to save, and they save money. And it's when they put money in their savings account, it might as well have been put in a safe and thrown in the bottom of the ocean. They just never take money out of their savings account, and then they'll come to me and say, "Hey, can you buy this?" And I'm like, "Well, you have money, you know." And they'll say, "Well, Dad, it's in my savings." And I'm like, "Well, where do you think mine's at?" What I mean? We had this discussion about, sometimes you have to use your own money, kids, but it is what it is. Um, but they do that and thinking that, hey, I got to hold on to every dollar, right? I got to make this money, hold on to it because they're looking around at a world where their paychecks aren't big, not big enough to live on your own. They can't afford rent on their own. They're in this world where everything is expensive, and they're trying to hold on to every single dollar that they make, not realizing where, like, hey, if you really want to get out of the system, I mean, really get out of the system, the escape is Bitcoin. And uh, no matter how much I tell them that, it's just every person has to cross that bridge when they get there, right? And uh, they're slowly coming around. I did post on X, like, one of my kids had given me like $25, maybe like 2 years ago or something, maybe 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and I had put it in like Cash App, and I just bought $25 worth of Bitcoin for them because that's what they gave it to me for. I was like, "Hey, Dad, can you buy me some Bitcoin?" I bought like 25 bucks. Well, when she graduated high school this last year, I sent it back to her because I couldn't give it to her until she was 18, not on Cash App. And so once she graduated high school and she turned 18, I sent her that Bitcoin, and it was like $260 or something. She she had 10x. She was completely caught off guard because she didn't know that I had done that. I mean, she just forgot about that $25. And there I had it sitting in a wallet for 3 or 4 years, whatever it was, 2, 3 years, And
That's
yeah, I mean, she crushed it, and now she's a Bitcoiner, right? Because she saw it worked, So
I know
now,
it takes some of us so long to just even realize how it works. It's not the number go up is definitely a helper. I mean,
yeah,
everyone likes when the number goes up. We all, get excited. But yeah, it once you cross the line of separating money from state, that's where it becomes like even more like the hard line.
yeah.
Um,
So I
and
think, yeah, and I think one thing that Bitcoin has done too is made it easier for me to explain uh, finance at work. So in my job, I've been at the same job for a long time, and I say long time, like over 2 decades. And um, I've gone kind of up through you kind of make your way up the ladder, right? So I'm up there now. I'm not the top dog or anything, but I'm up there. But when inevitably people talk about investing, right, in stocks and S&P 500 and bonds and all kind of other stuff. And one of the things that always leads me to orange peeling someone is because when they'll inevitably say like, "Hey, what stocks do you own? What are you buying?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't have any stocks, man. I don't even have a brokerage account, And they look at me like I got a horn growing out of my forehead, And but that always starts the conversation, and inevitably, like they start buying Bitcoin, right? Because you know, anybody who doesn't have any stocks at all must know something that I don't know, and like, uh, so especially when Bitcoin's over 100,000, right? It's an easy conversation. If Bitcoin was crashing right now to 40,000, the conversation would not be as easy. Um, and I think we've probably all been there too, right? Of like, you tell your friends about it, they buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin crashes, they lose money, they get pissed. So we've all been in that situation. But I think over the years, Bitcoin has proven that, like, hey, if you just kind of hold on to it, you'll be all right.
I think I've only had one friend out of all the years that I've been trying to orange pill people who bought Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and he was the only friend that I told him to just constantly buy. It doesn't matter, just doesn't matter how much, just add to your stack slowly. And he's the only one that has reported back after all these years. He's like, "Hey, do you still have your Bitcoin?" I'm like, "Of course I do. Do you?" And he's like, "Yeah, isn't this crazy?" And I'm like, "Hey, it worked
Yeah,
for someone. It worked for like
yeah,
one of my friends."
yeah. And I mean, he's exactly right, and I have a friend of mine that did that as well, and is actually getting ready to sell it. I think because he's also building a house, right? So like, I don't know if he's going to sell it all or not, but he's going to move. He's going to move some of it for sure. But that's good to see, right? That's why people are. That's why you do it, right? Is so you can, build your house, you can live your life, you can retire, you can do all those things, and so that, there is a means to the end, and so um, it's good. I think, just recently, I've probably 3 or 4. I just moved here. And the reason I moved here was the job, right? The job moved me out here, and um, I accepted the position out here, and so here I am. And so these people that I'm talking to now for the first time, they've never met me before, and of course they all want to talk about investing, and like it's made it easy. So now like there's probably 4 or 5 people in the office that are buying Bitcoin now that weren't buying Bitcoin a month ago. They're all just
That's
like
awesome.
they're all just like, who is this crazy guy that just came in here and doesn't own any stocks? Like we've never heard of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
Um,
I'm just like a wrecking ball going through the office. Like, I don't talk about it. I won't bring it up. But if you bring it up, I'll talk about it.
Yep, yep. I'm the same way. I try not to bring it up, but if people do, then eh.
Yeah.
I like to ask people if they've ever read a Bitcoin book. I like that one because most people haven't.
Most people don't read books at all.
Well, that's true too, but most people that have heavy opinions about Bitcoin, about how it's a scam or whatever, you're like, "Have you ever read like any books about it?" They're like, "No." It's like, "All right, well, come back to me when you at least read something."
Yeah. You know, you're exactly right. I think, I try to get people to read like, hey, can you just read the first 2 pages of the white paper? Because once you read it, you're just like, oh shit, and I think, the first couple of pages of the white paper really kind of get to the heart of it. Like, what is this thing all about? And, um, without getting incredibly technical. And so I think people kind of see it as like, hey, do you like trying to race against the inflating dollar or the devaluing dollar? Like, do you want to keep up that rat race forever? Like, is it if you do, then more power to you. Go ahead. But if you don't and you want to relax a little bit, maybe you want to jump on a different train.
Yeah. But hey, I did want to ask you about MSTR because it's
Mhm.
pretty much like a big talk of every conversation. They've been stacking Bitcoin since 2020. They have so much. Do you have any thoughts on MSTR?
Well, I mean, as I told you in the beginning, like I was a stock analyst. Like, take that back. I was not a stock analyst. I aspired to be a stock analyst at some point, right? That is no longer my goal in life, but it was back in the day. So I understand how to read the earnings reports, right, and read the cash flow statements and balance sheets, and like I understand how to evaluate a business. Having said that, I also don't own any stock, so I don't own any MSTR. But here's my take on it. I think MSTR, first of all, was here before the ETFs, right? They were the vehicle to allow people to buy Bitcoin that couldn't buy it directly through brokerage accounts, through whatever. Because a lot of people just they're not gonna close their brokerage account and open up Coinbase, and they've got money in brokerage accounts, and they're just not gonna sell it and move it, for whatever reason, tax purposes or whatever it is, whatever it could be. So MSTR was that vehicle. I think they've done a really great job. Now seems to be hyper focused on getting into the S&P 500, which is why in my opinion, why he keeps selling so many common shares is to increase the market cap size to get into the S&P 500. I mean, I would say that seems to be common knowledge, but every time I tell somebody that, they think I'm crazy. But that's what he's doing, right? The more shares you have out there, the larger your market cap is. You have to have a large market cap to get into the S&P 500, plus positive earnings, which he now has. The issue with it is I think he's going to have a difficult time getting into the S&P, right? Like, Robinhood hasn't got in yet. It took Tesla a long time to get in. I think that the S&P 500 is not just like, hey, you qualify, now you're in. It's a group of people who are trying to vote on it, and they don't like the way he's doing it. They look at it as, in my opinion, they will probably look at it as financial engineering of some sort, and they don't see it as a genuine company that is selling a product that is making cash flows and getting in that way, right? The traditional way. And so it remains to be seen, right, if he's going to get in. He probably will at some point because his market cap is going to be so big they just won't be able to deny him, which is exactly what happened to Tesla. And so I think, when Tesla jumped in, they were huge already. And so I think the same thing is probably going to happen to MicroStrategy. It's just going to take some time. But I think Saylor's pretty smart. He'll figure it out. I'm sure he's having those conversations. Um, the other treasury companies, though, I think they're almost like meme coins on Solana. They're
I
extraction
agree.
vehicles. They're just built to extract funds from people. And I get it. They're buying Bitcoin. They're doing all kind of crazy stuff with it, right? But the reality is the people at the top are making a lot of money. They've got a lot of stock options. They're extracting using people as exit liquidity, and they're selling their stock. It just puts a bad taste in my mouth, right? And not all of them are like that. So I'm not going to name any names, but um, definitely you have MSTR in one class where I think Saylor's doing a lot of things right. There's things I think he could do better, but he's doing a lot of things right. He also has made it through a bear market, a pretty sizable one, right? We went from 70,000 down to 15, and he stayed the course. So I think, like, there's a lot to be said for that. I think he is speeding. I think he has sped things up for reasons that he wants to get in the S&P 500. He's trying to race the ETFs, like he sped things up. But you have MSTR in one class, and then you have all the other Bitcoin treasury companies uh, that I think are just fighting. You know, they would say that they're not in competition because they're all in different markets, but they're definitely buying things from the same OTC desk, and whatnot. And I think it remains to be seen if we go through another bear market and if some of those survive. I think some of them are going to get picked off.
I agree. I think a lot of the treasury companies that are stacking Bitcoin, I think they'll get liquidated. They'll have to sell their Bitcoin. They'll go under.
Yeah.
I think that's inevitable to them. Like you said, strategy. They've gone through the bear market. They're leveraged, but
Hmm.
they're smart about it. I think they'll be just fine. Do
Yeah,
you
they're
think?
leveraged, but they're not overly leveraged. They're just,
Yeah, exactly. They're smart about it.
hmm
And every time that they buy more Bitcoin, I mean, that's he's created this whole atmosphere around MicroStrategy so he can constantly get money to constantly buy Bitcoin. So I
yeah.
don't think he'll ever like really run out. It's weird, but I mean,
Yeah, and I think he's in an environment where if he sold some to pay whatever, that his stock price might go up. I mean, I think he's kind of that created that dynamic, right? Where like it would probably scare the hell out of the Bitcoin community, but I think the Wall Streeters will be happy that like, hey, he bought that Bitcoin at 30,000 and now he sold it at 120. Like that was a great move. That is profit. You know what I mean? And that's when the Wall Street gang would really jump in. So,
yeah, I guess I haven't thought about it in that aspect. Yeah, I mean, if
because
he
that's what they
sold
care about. They care
Bitcoin,
about fiat gains, right? They want to see that he bought an asset for little and he sold it for a lot. Like that's the Wall Street game.
very true. Do you think his buying Bitcoin and the political atmosphere around Bitcoin is going to have any effect about him getting into the S&P or them as in like a general company?
I mean, it's hard to say. I, I think it's hard to say. I would hate to say that things in the S&P 500 are political, but everything seems to be political these days, right? Money moves the world, and um, hopefully it's not overly political. Um, I think if it is, that'd be a real shame, But I think, in my opinion, it just comes down to the old hat sitting up there trying to decide whether or not they're going to let a company come in here who doesn't have any real cash flow from an operating business, and that's going to be very difficult for some of them to swallow. Um, but that's why I think he's going big and bigger and bigger and bigger on Bitcoin. Why he sped up his ATM. Why he changed what level of MNAV he's going to sell common stock. You know, I think here's my impression of what happened, and I could be way, way, way off base. And so this is just my opinion. It's not, but the last earnings call, right? He said, "Hey, we're not going to sell any common stock below 2.5 MNAV." I think that was a signal to the S&P 500 people. I think since then he has heard from them that he's not going to get in. And so he changed it and said, all right, we're going to sell it right now and we're going to buy more Bitcoin. And we're going to really crank this thing up. And so like this last week he bought $450 million worth of Bitcoin, right? Like you're really cranking up the market cap and you're going to make it so big that they just can't deny you. And so that's my opinion of what's going on behind the scenes.
Oh, that's cool. I think you're right. I I wouldn't be surprised if your opinion is correct.
We'll see.
But
I mean, we'll see, right? Like I have no dog in the fight. I'm just watching the show, and
yeah,
I,
I hold very little MSTR. I actually treated it like a shit coin back in the day when I was selling the Solanas. I bought MSTR and sold it after like a 600% gain or something. So I
yeah,
got rid of it and now I own like a small amount. It's nothing large. I don't care necessarily where that stock goes. It's just like so many people talk about it nowadays. And I think it's really fun to watch him change a path. He's forging his own path through this financial system with using Bitcoin. And we all
yeah,
knew it was inevitable. Someone was going to do it. You know, nation states are next, and that's already happening. But
yeah.
um, it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's fun to speculate because
Well,
it's never been done before.
yeah, the problem is going to come in where if there is a financial crisis again, and if MicroStrategy is too big to fail, that's when the government moves in, right? Of like, hey, we'll give you the grant money, just like they just did Intel. Hey, we'll give you the grant money, but we're going to take 10% of your company, right? It's going to be if that's going to be the precedent that is set going forward. If there's another bear market, and these companies start failing, well, now you have the government who can own some Bitcoin, for bailing out of business.
Yeah, I mean, because I was going to ask you, how do you feel about the political situation around Bitcoin right now, or just in general? Because it's funny, I have a lot of liberal friends, so I'm usually on the outskirts of how they think, because I try not to be political in my friend group, but it's just what it is. And so around Bitcoin, I'm very glad that Trump won because of that.
Yep.
Because I don't know where we would personally be today if someone got in that uh, hated Bitcoin
Yep.
as much as the
Yeah,
past,
no, I think you're exactly right. I think Trump has been good for Bitcoin. I don't think there's any denying it, right? He has been good for Bitcoin. But I think the rest of the political environment, which is like people coming to the Bitcoin conference just to pander for votes, basically, and uh, you know, that part of it, even Bitcoin companies pandering to politicians, like I just feel like, you know, if you're going to be mass adopted, you have no way around the DC train, right? You have to go into the lion's den and pay your penance, I guess you should say, right? It's like pay the price. It's just, uh, in my opinion, of like it's sad to see, I guess, like I think that we don't people that have never been in the political arena don't understand the dynamic that goes back and forth. And so, like, if you bring, let's just say at the last Bitcoin conference, right, there was several Republican politicians there, no problem. But if you don't also bring the equal amount of Democrat politicians, then now what you've done is pin one party against another without even really trying to. And so now it's being looked at as like, oh, that Bitcoin thing is a Republican thing. And so you have Democrats who are not going to give Republicans a win, no matter what it is. They don't care if they agree with it or not. They're not going to let them win. And so they're going to vote no every time. And the simple answer is like, maybe invite them to a Bitcoin conference, let them speak as well, and then this could probably get solved. you know?
I hope so, because I really don't want Bitcoin to become, it already is, like you said, it already has a divide of
Yeah,
Bitcoin's Republican already, and I hate that because it's
right,
not.
right.
It is for both sides. It's kind of funny because Bitcoin is actually like the ethos behind it is almost more liberal than
Yeah,
conservative
it's very
in terms of
libertarian, right? Yeah,
yeah. I mean, definitely libertarian, but Bitcoin is essentially it. It falls into both categories: capitalism, earning money, and then
hmm
I don't know. So it's kind of
yeah,
weird that I don't want it to get more separated. I don't want Bitcoin to be something on a freaking voting block to allow or disallow Bitcoin in the United States. Like I don't
yeah.
want to get to a point where it's that big of a deal. And I agree, they should have Democrats. I think they invited Democrats to the Bitcoin conference though.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
hope
they
so.
said no.
And if that's the case, then then it's even more politically divided, and it already it's even more than I thought it was. I would hope that some of them would come. I know some of them, the banking lobby is still strong, and so donations matter. And if you got big banks backing you, and they want you to vote no on Bitcoin, guess what? You're going to vote no on Bitcoin. And so, people like to stay in power. They don't want to get booted out, and they certainly don't want the JP Morgans of the world uh, supporting their opponent, and so or the George Soroses or Warren Buffett's or whoever, right? They need the politicians need that capital. It's just that day and age now, and you know it's a shame. Our political system, it's a real shame. But
That's
if the
very true. Yeah, Bitcoin wouldn't have actually grown adoption if we had a great political system. If we had great money and a great political system, we wouldn't need Bitcoin. So,
right,
yeah, there's that.
so that's what I tell everybody. Like, hey, uh, as long as they don't do any harm, right? If they just fight with each other and they go back and forth, and nothing ever changes, then Bitcoin's going to win because the dollar is getting crashed and everything's going up, and people will eventually exit that system in mass, right? And you can see it happening, right? And so uh, I think that, you know, if another administration comes in, Bitcoin became a serious threat, which is not right now. A $2 trillion asset is not a threat. But if it became a serious threat, I think that, what they could do, what they might do is just tell stores, right, in department stores, like, hey, you can no longer accept Bitcoin. It's dollars only. And so like that would be a way of like slowing it down, right? But all it does is drive things into a black market, and then Bitcoiners get even more staunch about it.
Yeah.
So
No, it's I don't think we've reached, or I think we've already gone past the point where the U.S. government will say it's gonna be banned in the United States,
yep.
but there's always that chance that we get, the crazy president or the I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, it
the
just
random
depends on
people that want
it depends on how much of a threat they take it as. I think if we go down the route of like, hey, we're going to make a strategic reserve or a strategic stockpile, and the United States as a policy really, really supports it and supports the idea, maybe does bit bonds or whatever, then we're past the point of no return, right? We're never going back. If they see it as like, no, this thing's actually a threat to the US dollar and it's going to bring down the whole system, then it becomes a threat. And then, and right now I think kind of at a fork in the road on which way they're going to take it.
Yeah. But hey, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but you've been posting a little bit. Sorry, I'm going to switch gears.
Yeah, go ahead.
You've been posting a little bit about not only, I mean, family and your Bitcoin fixes this, but um, about men. Uh, Men have kind of been under attack for a while now, I feel like. Masculine men bringing back, the traditional values as a man that has 5 children. What's
And
your
four
views on
daughters,
this?
right? It's four daughters.
Yeah, because I don't have any kids, like I've told you, but I completely agree that, weak men have created these times. And I think it's time to bring back some stronger men. And I noticed that you posted about it, so I just wanted to ask you some stuff.
Yeah, man. I think, I think I got to be careful what I say here. I'll get yelled at. I got daughters and stuff. But yes, I I do think that we have kind of gone astray of like, hey, men just working hard and taking care of your responsibilities. And if you marry a woman and that's just in the traditional sense, right? Like she now becomes, I wouldn't say like not your possession, but definitely a responsibility, right? Like you're adding a life partner, and you have a responsibility to do your part and take care of her. And because she has also responsibilities, right? She's going to bear you children and things like that. And so I think, um, while I think part of it is men have gone the wrong way, right? It went from like the far extreme of like the man is going to take care of everything, and the woman is just going to be barefoot and in the kitchen, right? That's an extreme view. I think if you find a partner in life where your wife is equal, then you don't have that view. But men haven't taken or a lot of men now have not taken that I'm going to have an equal power balance in my relationship. What they've done is gone the exact opposite way of like, I don't want to do anything but sit here and play video games and let the woman take care of stuff. She's in charge now, and like, and so the power imbalance has gone the exact opposite way. And so that causes a lot of problems. The same problems that it caused when it was the other way. And so I think we had to come back to like, hey, men, like you actually do have a responsibility to your wife and to your kids and to society, and where that power dynamic fits, it should probably be a 50-50 thing, right? Like I have um, no issue at all if a woman wants to work, right? Like there's no issue with that. How that power dynamic goes in the house, fine, right? It takes two incomes now a lot of times to survive, and so um, but guess what, man? Like when you have kids, you have a responsibility to them. It's not just the wife as well. And so, um, you know, men have gone from like I'm going to do everything super masculine, probably a little bit toxic, to down to like I'm just going to sit here and play Call of Duty and do nothing, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, we have to get back to like I have a responsibility to my wife and to my kids, to take care of them and do everything I can to educate them and raise them. And that's not just about having a job. Like there's a lot of stuff goes into that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know this about me, because I shared it on a different episode, but that's okay. So when we left Colorado, I quit my job, and so
Are
because
you
it
playing
was
Call
for
of
my
Duty?
wife,
That's what I heard.
huh?
I said you're playing Call of Duty now. You went the other way.
Yeah. I'm sitting here playing. That's all I do. Uh, no, so I quit my job, and so for the first time in my life, uh, my wife was the breadwinner. And
Yeah,
so it was very weird because I didn't like my career. And so I was fine with giving it up because it's not what I wanted to do. And
yeah,
so it took a lot of discussion. But when we moved, because her career was actually blowing up, she was getting these promotions and whatnot, it was very odd for me to go from having being the breadwinner to now having no income, and she was the breadwinner and she was the only income at that point. And it's a weird dynamic, and I don't think men are supposed to be sitting at home personally, even though now I do work from home, but that's a different story, whatever. uh,
yeah,
it's an odd dynamic that the world has come into, and I think a lot of men have fallen for the my wife can work and I can be a lazy piece of shit,
yeah,
and they do enjoy it, and then they become even more worthless because men need to have a purpose. Women are the natural caregivers, and I don't want to talk for women because I'll just get slapped around in comments, but I think men need a purpose and need something
yeah.
to do.
All right. I totally agree. I mean, I certainly don't have any issue if you work or work from home or didn't work for a while, you're in transition. Like, there's no issue with that. The issue is much broader, right? Of like, what does that look like in 2 years, right? Are you supporting the family? Or are you supporting your wife? Or are you just a lazy piece of shit? So I think it's not like it. As long as it doesn't spiral out of control, man. Like I think that's no issues at all for sure. Like there's going to be times in life when I'm not going to work, right? And my wife I know wants to continue working even after I'm retired. So I think um, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'm going to become a t-ball coach or something. I'll do something. But
Yeah, you gotta have to find a hobby.
yeah, I got to find a hobby, right? Like just sitting around doing nothing. I won't be able to do it. I mean, I started working when I was 15 years old, and I'm almost 50. I've been working ever since. I'm I've been lucky in life that like I said, I've been working at the same job for a long time, and I don't know what it's like to be unemployed. I haven't been unemployed since I was like 18. I just don't know what it's like. I haven't had that adult experience of being unemployed, and so my
It's
my
weird,
adulthood
man.
has been shortchanged.
No, it's weird. It took a little. I mean, like the first couple months were a lot of fun because you just I can do whatever I want. You mow the lawn, you go to the gym whenever you want. And then after a couple months, you're like, this kind of sucks. Like it's not fun. It's not
Right.
enjoyable. I had to do something, so that's when I started doing other things, and now I've led back to trying to work in the Bitcoin space. But yeah, it took a while to find out what I wanted to do, and so now I think I finally found what I like. But yeah, it's
Awesome.
been interesting.
Yeah, I hope it's good, man. I hope it works out. I mean, I think if you can do something to grow adoption and get the education out there, man, shoot, we need a lot of people doing that.
I agree. I agree. And most of my followers are usually in their 30s, so around my age, which is great.
Yeah.
I think it's
Then they're gonna
important for
they're gonna
them.
look at this old Gen X guy and be like, "He's in Bitcoin. How did he get in the?"
No, they're gonna look at you and be like, "Look at this old man who retired in his 50s and is able to build his own house and retire without
Yeah,
being like, 'Hey, I need my social security check.'" Like,
yeah.
that's
So my
pretty
goal,
cool.
my goal right now is to retire at 48, but I may end up being 49. I'm going to try to hit it before I'm 50. That's my goal, right? So we'll see.
That's
Now
cool.
the sun just came up and came right through my window, if you can see.
I can't see that.
Let me move a little bit.
No, you're good. You're good. No, no, that's awesome. But um, I know that you do. It is a work day, and you got up
Yeah.
early for this, so I appreciate it. But any any predictions? Anything that you think about the market right now, about where we're headed, price action, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see any catalyst for a bear market right now. I think I'm not opposed to the idea that we do another cycle and we have a bear market, but I don't see any catalyst to it right now, unless one of the treasury companies goes belly up, like that might start some some dips. But right now, I think, hey, look, the rest of the year looks pretty good. They're going to cut rates. October is normally pretty solid anyway, in December, and so I think we go up the rest of the year. You know, um, we've kind of
I
been we've
agree.
kind of been we've kind of been stalemating here in this range, but I think we'll go up the rest of the year, man. I wouldn't be surprised if we were sitting at 150 at the end of the year, and that'd be a huge move, right? That's 20% or so. I mean, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were sitting there at the end of the year, and then we'll see what happens, right? When the rest of the year, when next year starts, we'll kind of see what direction it goes, and um, but any bad news, if it was big bad news, right? Like Strategy's bankrupt or Metaplanet's bankrupt or something like that, that could cascade into all kind of things. So, but I don't see that on the horizon right now.
Okay. Yeah, the biggest thing that I really see as like a black swan event is a potential random war of some
Yeah,
sort. That's really like the biggest catalyst I see. But I usually when that kind of stuff happens, risk assets drop, but they rebound very quickly. So it would just be like a
yeah,
great opportunity to buy the dip. I do agree with you though that this year has technically been flat because we are
yeah,
back to where we were in January. And that's not how Bitcoin cycles usually work. So I think everyone is kind of just speculating and we don't really know where it's going to go, what's going to happen,
yeah,
because this cycle has been different. And I
yeah.
agree with you that the rest of the year, I think, will be a positive for Bitcoin.
I
I
think
agree.
so. But one thing we didn't mention is that I still buy Bitcoin every month. And
Same.
so like I don't care if it goes down or not. Like I just keep on buying, and if it goes up, great, and if it goes down, great. I'm just going to get more of it. So,
Yeah,
uh,
no, that's the beauty of it. Like we said, it's one of the assets where it goes down and you're happy about it, and
yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
But
for sure. Hey man, no, I do appreciate the time. Really, thanks for having me on. I didn't say all that, but I can appreciate what you're doing in the Bitcoin space, man, and what all the podcasters are doing, and I think it's great, man. This is much needed because it kind of brings a level of realism to other people, right? Of like, hey man, this is a real thing, and it can actually change your life if just given time, right? I'm not a day trader. I don't do anything like that. I've always been a very consistent, like even in the stock market, kind of a DCA kind of person who took advantage of dips. That's how you have to play these types of things. But over the course of time, you can grow your wealth. You can increase your level of freedom. Right? It just takes time, and so I think people need to kind of hear that and see that in real life. Like I'm not out buying yachts, but I'm also like financially free. So
well, I'll let you go after this, but because you said that, thank you, by the way. I appreciate it. I'm trying. I really enjoy interviewing people. I love talking about Bitcoin. But what I was going to say is most people get on YouTube and they only see the people that got super rich and they own
yeah,
a Lambo. They go on yachts with Instagram models and shit like that. And that's not real life.
right,
99% of people that don't even realize Bitcoin is here and don't even know what it is still, the people that do know, we're just trying to get free from the system. We're just trying to build a
Yep.
better life for ourselves. We want the government to fuck away, and we want to enjoy our life with our family. And
Yep.
that's what we want. That's awesome. Hey, man, I really do appreciate it. And I'll end it here because that was awesome. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.